Okay, so today I'll go through some of my old best takes, basically, I was just thinking about. So the problem is I'm only doing it like this because the audio quality isn't the greatest or whatever, but it's fine. So all this stuff is like copyright to me because, I like everything I say, but, some of them are obviously ideas that might be similar to things people have said before, but a lot of them maybe are just entirely unique to me, but especially the way I said them, that's the most important thing. Right, the way I said them was like as these short-form logical razors that are like very short and to the point, because you realize people have low attention spans, whatever. But they did have a certain power to them as far as like, it's just like a sentence, but it has so much weight to it that it makes an entire argument or destroys an entire argument just like that. Oftentimes they're reactive, like holding an argument accountable to itself. Like the best argument against something is often the flawed argument for it. So, for example, religion is a great example. So we'll go through religion, and we'll go through a couple other things like, I can't remember now already. I just thought about what I wanted to say. If God created the universe, then what created God? So this was the whole logical razor of you as an atheist. This is like a quote from a short story of mine, first of all, where the two characters are talking at the beginning, and they say, one of them says, I can't remember exactly what the exchange was, but this is basically the final line of it, where we are born atheist, right, he said. So in other words, he's not doing anything outward by being atheist. We're born that way. So we are born atheist. And then the other guy says, we are born naked. Do we live so? As if to imply, just because you're born a certain way doesn't mean you have to live that way. So you can, we choose to wear clothing, so we can choose to be religious. So that's sort of his comeback to it. But on the broader scale of what I've said is that, the burden of proof is on you as the claim maker. So again, somebody could be born and they're just ignorant of the world and the universe, right? We don't have all the answers. We're just animals who have slightly greater intelligence and self-awareness. That doesn't suddenly make us aware of everything and knowing all the answers of the universe even thousands of years ago, let alone with what we know now. Why can't the answer just be we don't know and we don't have all the answers, and we're just ignorant animals who are a little full of ourselves and narcissistic to think that not only should we know everything and how it came to be, but also that it revolves around us, and all the dogma kind of, so closely resembles human ideology anyway, like, killing people is wrong, and, all these things that we would have in law and in morality. How convenient that God would, care about exactly what we care about, and everything would revolve around us. So there's a psychological need. It gives us peace of mind. It gives us, false certainty, rather than just admitting, people are unwilling to be puzzled. So they'd rather have a false answer than just simply having no answer and being uncertain, right? So you create that. So it can have positive psychological effects by giving you structure and peace of mind. But I always say, don't specify the conflict is one of my logical razors. Like, even if you do believe something in a broad sense, just to give you peace of mind and might make you more productive in life or whatever, reduce you to a structure where you can easily be controlled more easily. But even if you do that, you don't have to get lost in the specifics of it, because then what are you really saying? Like, your religion is the right one and every other one is wrong throughout human history. But if you actually study history in this context from theology, you'll realize that, yes, every group of people, even separate from themselves, like one another, would come up with their own religions, and they would have some similarities. So what it shows you is the psychological need that people have for answers, and in their ignorance and not knowing anything, the unknown, they'll sort of make idols of their fears or idols of their hopes and dreams and desires, etc. So they'll do that because, again, they have the psychological need and imagination. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it doesn't make it accurate, or it sort of hurts the argument, because what would you be saying then? Up until 2,000 years ago, assuming I'm talking about Christianity, but even other ones, what would you say then, right? What would you believe then? Or are you saying that everybody in history was wrong then? What about the Greek gods? What about other Hindu gods? What about, all the other ones? So you realize that every society, even separated from each other, comes up with its own belief system, which shows you a psychological need more so than it does anything accurate or inherent or true about it. You could argue that maybe somehow they're all describing the same thing, right, just in different ways and calling it by different names, but I don't think that's really a very good argument. And then the other point is that, well, my religion is right and everyone else's is wrong. Imagine, thinking like that, it would be so insular. Like, oh, Christianity is right and every other, pagan voodoo religions and other, obscure ones. And how do you explain all of these? Like, just because something is more popular or mainstream doesn't mean that it's right and every other one is wrong. So that would be a very hard argument to make in itself. And you're not realizing the psychological need and tendency behind it as to why people even believe those in the first place. And then beyond that, getting back to my whole logical razor on it, it would be, again, the burden is on the claim maker. So you, as the claim maker, would be saying that God exists. Someone who's an atheist, which again is sort of a non-label, that is a false duality. Like, there's no such thing as an atheist. It's like either you're born and you don't believe in anything, and then you can choose or be indoctrinated to believe something, right? You go to church as a kid, whatever, or you make the conscious choice to believe it, fine, but that's an outward active thing that you're doing. And so by simply not believing in something, that's not an outward act. You're not saying, oh, I'm going out of my way and I'm actively not believing. No, that's just how you're born. That's just the natural state. Doesn't mean that that's right or you shouldn't do it, but it means that the burden is on the claim maker. You would just say, I don't know. I'm just an ignorant human being. I'm just an ignorant animal who barely, can do anything. And I just have a little minor self-awareness, minor self-intelligence that is better than that of animals. That's the only difference between me and an animal, right? So don't get too full of yourself and narcissistic to think that you would have all the answers of the universe and that you would know everything, right? So you could just simply say, I don't know. I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, and I'm willing to be puzzled and just say I'm not that all-seeing, all-knowing. You might say, oh, that's an undesirable claim, but that's the whole point. It's like, it doesn't matter what you want. It matters what is actually so. Right, of course, people will be like, oh, no, I have all the answers. Oh, of course, we're going to believe that. Right, we don't want to hear that we just don't have the answers and we just don't know. Why would you want to hear that? And then the other point is that, again, so the burden is on you as a claim maker. You'd be saying, oh, no, I do have all the answers. There's God, and this is what he says to do, and he has all this doctrine and dogma and all these standards that are eerily similar to what people would come up with on their own for what is right to do in society and what is wrong and social stigma and crimes and all these kind of things. Right, it's a very egocentric, self-absorbed, self-obsessed perspective to think that God would even care about your acknowledgement or need it or want it or allow it to be up to your whims, whether you believe or not. But yeah, the burden of proof is on you, and what that means is you have to back up your assertion that God exists or the specific God and the specific beliefs and all that. So the point is that your claim would be that everything must be created, as in the universe, etc. Therefore, God must be the one who created it. And so that's your way of justifying that God exists. But since these are all your claims, instead of the other person who can just, again, say they don't know, they're not saying anything, they're just the way they were when they were born and ignorant, etc. Right, as we all are. People know a fraction of all that there is to know in the universe, and so forth. So we are, even with all the scientific knowledge we have, that's what science does, is it asks questions and has uncertainty, whereas religion or a belief system will provide answers. Right? So one of them is willing to ask, the other one is more willing to assert and act like it knows everything. But the other point is that again, you have to say your claim folds on itself, because you say everything must be created, and therefore your answer to that need to be created is God, that God created everything. However, those two claims contradict each other, because then you would say, well, if everything must be created, then God too must be created. So then what created God? So it creates an endless loop where, well, God would need to be created then by another God, and then they would need to be created by another God, and it would never end. Right? So it doesn't really answer the need to be created. And then some people might say, well, God is exempt from the need to be created. But you're the one who posed the standard that said in the first place, well, the reason why God needs to exist is because the universe had to come from somewhere, and therefore God created it. So the fallacy here is, if you can exempt God from the need to be created, then you can exempt the universe from the need to be created. So you're making an exception in your own rule, right, the very basis for which God would exist, and saying that everything must be created. Then God created it, but then God themselves would need to be created by someone, something else as well. And if not, then you make an exception. Well, there's an exception to the need to be created that you posed before as absolute. Right now you say, well, God is exempt from the need to be created. Okay, well, if you can make an exemption to that, then why not just say, okay, the universe itself is exempt from the need to be created? Why would that be any different, right? So either way, you're making an exception to that rule. At least if it was an absolute that you held absolutely accountable, it could be accepted that, okay, God created the universe, and the reason why that's necessary is because everything needs to be created within our limited, flawed human understanding of reality and the universe, etc. So everything must be created, and therefore God created it, but therefore God too needs to be created, and therefore you make an exception for God that God didn't need to be created, but then I could make an exception, well, under your own premise, I could make an exception that the universe too is exempt from the need to be created, therefore God is no longer necessary. So either way, you're making an exemption to a false absolute standard that you are posing as a claim maker that, again, it's not even really making a claim on the other side. You're just saying, you're the one who's saying it, and then you can't back it up because, again, that same fallacy exists. Like, how can you say that the universe just came out of thin air? I guess you're right then, so God must have created it. But oh wait, then you're saying that God came out of thin air, so is that any better of a claim? Like, it's the same point that you're giving an exception and bypassing the need of creation in the first place. So there was some other point I was going to say, oh yeah, like the jungle theory, like, or not even a theory, it's kind of provable and observable. If you're born in the jungle in the middle of nowhere and like you live off the land and you have no interaction with society or any other person besides maybe your parent who raised you also in the jungle, right? You wouldn't believe in a mainstream religion. You might come up with your own even, but you wouldn't be Christian, 100% guarantee, because you wouldn't even know what that is. You wouldn't have been taught about it. You wouldn't have learned about it. You wouldn't have been indoctrinated into it. And so therefore now you say, you know, obviously that you have the ability to basically do, again, that person would live a, fine life. They would hunt, live off the land, pick berries, whatever, right, do what they have to do to survive. But there would be at no point would they ever believe in Christianity specifically or a major mainstream religion because they weren't exposed to it. So why would it be up to your exposure to some, church or temple or indoctrination by other people, etc.? Why would that be necessary if it was some absolute inherent truth of reality? Right, you wouldn't need all that. You would just naturally see it in nature, but there's 100% guarantee that doesn't happen. At most, you might come up with your own sort of belief system in your uncertainty, but it is not a very strong case because, in other words, the criteria would be you have to be, born in a certain society, you have to, at a young age, you have to be indoctrinated into the church or temple or whatever, and then you have to kind of be pressured to believe that. Right, and that's the way that you become religious. But none of that would be necessary or should be necessary if it is indeed absolute or inherent, right? So there's a twofold fallacy with it. That number one, why would God even care or need your acknowledgement, right? God is so powerful, whether you believe in it or not, it would still be the same. And number two is that if God wanted you to believe in them, then they would have already made you. They wouldn't have given you the option not to, or they would have made themselves more known. So either God doesn't want to be worshipped by you and doesn't care, right, because then thereby allowing you not to believe in them, or God does care but then is not really so absolute or so powerful because they don't make themselves known or aren't very powerful at doing it. So they leave their whole acknowledgement up to the whims of a person to say, well, all you'd have to do to invalidate my whole existence is just not believe, right? So either, again, they don't care, or maybe they're not all powerful after all, or, you have all these different ones that people believe in, again, specifying the conflict, like it's not really about that. It's more the psychological need and stuff like that. And then, you have some other desire to see, similar with this is another fallacy, like, you'll thank God for getting you out of a tough spot, but you won't blame God for putting you in that spot in the first place. So you're basically saying, oh, they're not all powerful. Anything good that happens, I'll say, oh, thank God. But anything bad that happens, I won't blame them and hold it against them. Right? So you're in like the Holocaust, and it's like, you'll say, oh, thank God saved me from this horrible, horrible thing. But wouldn't you blame God and say, why did God allow you to be subject to that and to be, in the concentration camp and in all this terrible situation? Why would God allow you to do that? Then that was part of God's design too. Like, oh, it's to test you or something, is how people might explain it. Or even beyond this, you have if God's standard was they don't want you to kill other people, right, then why would they let you? God would have created you in a physically incapable way of doing that. So God doesn't want you to kill people, and God is all-powerful, but God lets you kill people anyway, just to teach you a lesson, I guess. But that's kind of a sadistic thing to do. Why not just not let you do it then if you didn't want them to do it? Right? They wouldn't create you with the capacity for even doing that, whether it be mentally or physically or whatever. Right? You just wouldn't even be capable of doing it. Or you wouldn't be capable of dying or whatever. So yeah, those are some good logical razors I had. I should have done this in a more formal sense, but I'm too lazy to even bother, so this is the best you're going to get. Maybe I'll watch something now, but those are some good little ones. So again, if God is exempt from the need to be created, if your logic dictates that God must be created, no. If your logic dictates that everything must be created, and your answer is God, then God too is not exempt from this need to be created, and therefore it creates an endless loop. And so if God can be exempt from the need to be created, then everything can be too, the universe, thereby making that point moot as far as your justification for why God must exist. So again, it's holding its own argument against it. You're not even really making an argument. You're just saying, your basis for saying that God must exist is the whole point, right, that is being called into question. And so again, it can be a certain cognitive dissonance, bypassing of needs, the psychological need to sort of say, well, here's how we can sort of deny our inherent nature and self and try to be molded into a society that can be easier to control, which again, that's not even necessarily a bad thing, but then you would be making a functional argument, not an absolute argument, right? And you would have cognitive dissonance, like, well, it's objectively adverse to myself, but because of this cognitive dissonance, I'm kind of treating as an absolute. So what you're really doing is you're worshiping human collective overextension and human ideology and sort of morality, but it would be simpler as just a golden rule, like, okay, I won't kill somebody because I don't want to be killed myself or something. But then it can be kind of it can be harder to convince people to do that instead of veiling it in an absolute and saying, well, because then it's one subjective voice versus another, where you have, now you have this, well, one person says killing someone is wrong and one person says it's right, so you can never win that argument, it's just subjective. Or even a collective group says it's social Darwinism, but it doesn't matter because, okay, so 1 million people say it's wrong and 10 people say it's right, but it's still one subjective idea versus another. So now you try to create a higher standard to say, well, it's not subjective, it's absolute. And so God says it, so now you can't question it. And people will be sort of suckers for this false certainty, false absolute. Let me look at something here, or let me try to remember some other ones. Like, to be aware of it is not to be above it is a very common one that I would use, just to show, like, you can criticize something, right, whether a tendency or something a person does, but it doesn't mean that you're perfect yourself in saying that. So you can still say, like, because that's the most common fallacy of trying to discredit somebody. Well, it applies to you, or you have flaws too, therefore your claim is invalid. But two things can be true, right? You can be flawed, but you can also point out flaws elsewhere, and so that doesn't mean you can alleviate one by pointing out the other. So, like, if you have the flaws of, this is an example I would use, like, a person points out that the air they're breathing is polluted and could be improved, right? The air quality is flawed because of factories and whatever, right? You can point out, okay, the air is less clean here in the city and it's polluted, but then they say, well, you're still breathing it though, so that invalidates you. But just because you're subject to the need to breathe oxygen doesn't mean that your claim that it's maybe a little dirty or unclean, whatever, polluted, it doesn't make that less valid, the fact that you're breathing it. And in fact, it maybe gives you credibility because you have firsthand knowledge of it. But to say that, oh, it invalidates you is wrong because, like the fish is swimming in the water, and it's like, oh, well, a fish is swimming in the water, and it says, oh, this water is filthy and dirty and polluted, and there's cans and, other shit in here. But it's like, well, you're still swimming in the water, you're still living in the water, so you have no right to say that. It's like, you don't have a choice but to live in the water, but you can still observe a flaw of it or be critical of it or try to change it. So just because something applies to you doesn't mean your opinion on it is invalid, right? Or that you're not able to criticize it. Or again, like, oh, soda is bad, but you still drink soda. But that doesn't mean that soda isn't bad and that you're not right. It just means that, again, being aware of something does not make you above the tendency or the flaw or the practice. So, what else do we got to look at here? I've just done so many things over the years, but I never do it in like a formal, proper way. Like, I just do it on a whim, kind of like what I'm doing here. But at least this will be preserved for all time then, as I keep uploading these, even if I do it in sort of a not the greatest way. But that's the whole point. I could always just redo it then with the video. Like this, I'm reacting to Skibbity Toilet in the one, and then I get to, I'm just showing a blank screen or like my channel art, but I'm not really showing the videos I'm reacting to. I'm just sort of saying the timestamp. Or like I'm saying when, oh, now I'm starting this one in 3, 2, 1 seconds. But the point is that, it's just, I could always go over and do it later where I change it. Okay, so today I'm going into one of these random YouTube sessions with at least some structure, doing something that I talked about doing before. Let's watch and react to all the most viewed YouTube videos of all time. And so as usual, I'll just kind of say what it is and when I'm starting, and you can kind of match it along. And that makes it so much easier than actually having to put the timestamp in the video, and especially when you're doing like short videos and stuff. And also, I don't have to worry about putting the video in my video. I just kind of, it seems stupid, but this is like a radio show type of thing. It's just audio. I'm not showing any video. But we're starting with a playlist with 994 videos by, the name starts with an A. It's 1,000 most viewed YouTube videos of all time. And so the first one we're starting with is the Baby Shark Dance, which I think I have seen a little bit of this before, or at least I've seen a reference. So this, I wish I had the guy's name, but it's kind of hard to see when you're driving like this. It's a 994, but see, what if it changes over time? That's the problem. Well, whatever, it's the Baby Shark video, and it is wait, what? No, it's like 2 minutes 16. I thought it was 3 minutes. Hang on. Whatever. What is it? Baby Shark Dance, Baby Shark most viewed videos, even in the title. So we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Ping Fong. So let's just see what this is. Let's see what we can react to with this. Right, like what is there to analyze? Like it's something that can be catchy or cute or fun for little kids to appreciate, and that's about it. But it's memed on maybe because it's so repetitive. They just keep overdoing it. Baby shark, mommy shark, daddy shark, like we get it, but so it's okay, or it's like in the same vein as Skibbity Toilet, for what you have with respect to the baby shark, mommy shark, and they have all these gender stereotypes. You're teaching kids the antiquated way, like that it has lipstick and it's pink, so therefore it must be reinforcing also family system. Oh, she's pink, so you know it's a girl. So again, it's nothing remarkable, but I get it from a kid's perspective. I can't say that it's terrible. In the same way the Skibbity toilet is stupid, and it's just this cute little catchy thing that people can get enamored with. The visuals aren't really run away. This you might find funny. They just keep repeating shit too often. Every 3 days, greatest song ever, or whatever. Safe at last. This is at least the funny aspect that they change it from the typical stuff to just saying whatever is happening. Runaway, safe at last, it's the end. So again, it's nothing remarkable, but I can't say I'm surprised. Or now we even get a different version of it at the end. Watch more. Yeah, so what is worse, Baby Shark or Skibbity Toilet? At least Baby Shark you can understand a little more. Skibbity Toilet is just kind of so random that nobody can even explain really what the fuck it is. Let's do deep psychological analysis of Skibbity Toilet and in-depth theories, and Film Critic gives analysis. This will be the second video on the playlist, which I don't know what it is even. You know what my misjudgment with this is? A lot of them are, of course, going to just be songs, either ones that I have or haven't heard. But so, what is this? Despicado, Daddy Yankee. I'm sure I have heard it. I just don't remember, or I don't know offhand just from the name. But again, you would think it'd be something to do with the video itself, like Rick Roll, Rick Astley. The song itself is popular, sure, but it goes way beyond that with respect to the actual, people find the video so memeable and noteworthy. In fact, even in the description, it says the award-winning music video by some director who went on to direct, like, True Lies or something, right? Some big-time Hollywood director. He puts it on his resume because, oh my goodness, this video has like 1 billion views. And so you might say, oh, that's just because of Rick Roll, but the reason why the Rick Roll exists is partly because of the video, or whatever, the song. And I guess what people find funny with that is how the guy's face doesn't really match his voice, right? At least I always think that, like, when you hear it sounds so much deeper or whatever, then his face is just so kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't exactly match. So yeah, we're watching Despicado, and we are going to start in a second here. But no, that's the one problem, and I maybe might skip some of these, where a lot of them are just going to be music. So we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Nice little ocean view, kind of grainy film stuff. I'm not actually able to see even how many views these have as I'm doing it, or it's kind of unclear to me. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But no, I love how many famous songs, like, I don't even know what the fuck they're saying half the time. This could be because it's not in English. Although I think it's partly in English. I don't know. Okay, it's not in English, so I don't even know what he's saying. But let's just judge the musical quality. Or let's judge the video. So is this girl just going up to some little kid? Doesn't even sound really that great that I would think it would be this popular. There must be some amazing chorus that comes later. This is all just like ordinary. Nothing is standing out too much. It's okay. It's kind of more low-key than I thought. I thought it'd be a little heavier. Or no, not Despicado, Despacito. It's really kind of just a low-key song. I expected it to be like super high-octane techno blasting it's very low, kind of, kind of chill, mellow. Oh, now it gets pumped up a little bit. So I'm not really blown away by it, actually. It's okay. This isn't one of those things I would expect to actually be that popular, though. And I'm not holding against it that I don't know what they're saying, but maybe the lyrics are really poetic and amazing. Or I saw this really funny thing of, like, Eminem, Lose Yourself from, like, the 1950s or something, and it's, like, Frank Sinatra style, and the lyrics work so well. It's, like, a slow, jazzy thing made by AI, right? So it's just the lyrics of Lose Yourself, but sung in a more serious way. And so it ends up being very, I don't know, it just shows the lyrics of that are very good. Because they're not really profanity-laced like a lot of the other ones. Except for the one line, lose yourself, yo. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime, yo. Something like that is a little out of place, but... Or I saw like this rap about Noah's Ark, the original rap from like the early 1900s. Despacito. I was even saying it wrong. Despacito. I feel like I've heard it called that before. But no, I'm thoroughly unimpressed by this because you have, right, it's not really that impressive, right? I expect it to be like a little more turned up, like just crazy and loud and whatever. Which doesn't mean that it's necessarily good because of that, but Puerto Rico, that's the one line I understood. I don't even know what it means, actually. I'm assuming like an attractive woman or whatever. Or like a desperado almost. I wonder if you can hear, like, when somebody honks their horn and stuff like that, you can hear the overall ambience of the car, but it's not the greatest recording circumstance, but it's okay. Alright, so I'm not impressed by that. Again, it's not bad, but we're holding these to a high standard. So the Baby Shark, I would give, like, a moderate, lukewarm, like a C grade, where it's okay, it's a little cute, I can understand how kids would like it. This one I'll give also, like, a C grade, where it's just, like, I don't really get it. It's an okay song. I'm not blown away. It's not bad, but it's not anything that I would think would be top of the line. So let's look for something. There'll be some weird random video of like PewDiePie playing a game or just talking about some random subject. Ben Shapiro talking about something. Like, they probably won't be this high, but there'll be some weird stuff like that. The Hawk Tour Girl. So this one is some baby thing that I think I've heard before. Johnny, Johnny, Yes, Papa. The best song for children. I thought we already were told that the Baby Shark one is the best song for children, though. So we're starting this one in 3, 2, 1. I think I remember seeing this before, too. Maybe I've only seen them in this exact context. I think this one has some weird video that actually, like, something disturbing happens, or I can't remember. The baby riding a skateboard in their house. And this song is kind of catchy already. Better song than Despacito already. But no, that just wasn't what I expected. Johnny, Johnny. He's scolding him in kind of a cute way, which is not bad. Whole top 10 wholesome moments in human history. But yeah, as if the baby would even... The creepiest thing is the baby being able to talk. When would a baby be able to talk like this, of this age? Now he goes back to get sugar again as the dad falls asleep. Or they keep repeating it too directly. The best way to get a catchy song is just keep repeating the same exact dialogue, same exact lyrics over and over. It's going to be the same shit like a million times. Let me guess. Now he's going to go back again and get the sugar again. At least mix up the lyrics a little bit. Or he stole, oh wow, top 10 game theory moments in fiction history. So that one was a little bit too, he stole the whole thing, took it with him. But still better game theory than the fucking Sopranos or something. Sopranos episode 5, whatever, the one I was disappointed at. A lot of these have to do with kid songs then, I guess. But that one was kind of like a D, because even though it had like a cute little wholesome vibe, it was kind of too short form and it repeats the lyrics maybe too much. That's like a C- to a D level. Again, nothing that impressive. I was expecting some sort of other chorus or other line, but they repeat the exact same thing. Right? Eating sugar, no. Telling lies, no. Open your mouth, haha, and that's it. Like, it's the exact same thing twice over. Right? You can come up with a little variety and subvert our expectations a little bit over here. Right? Where we're sitting here waiting for something exciting, and you're just giving us the same shit over and over. So now, again, all these are going to be either just songs, like mainstream songs, pop culture, or they're going to be little kid stuff, which is okay, I guess, but that song. Okay, Coco Melon, nursery rhymes and kids songs. So we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Little fly buzzing in front of a watermelon's eye. That rhymed. I guess that's the best rhyme of this whole fucking, out of all these songs. Some of these don't even rhyme at all. What is this? That one, I got my Gucci on, I got my Louis Vuitton or whatever, that doesn't actually rhyme, but they make it sound like it rhymes. Or this like the same kid animation thing, I think. Or it just looks similar. Soap and bubbles in the tub, like a little song to help kids learn how to shower. Indoctrinate kids into the hygiene of modern society. Oh no. Wait, they copied it. No. This one gets an F- because you're stealing the shark. Unless this, look at them put the soap literally in the fucking eye. You can't do that. This is actually bad instructions for kids. The way they're doing it so aggressively, like on their eyes. So it's either by the same people who made Baby Shark who were ripping off their same thing, or maybe this is where that bar, top 10 bars that Eminem was afraid to diss, watch my face do, and they have the sharks even in there. So one of these gets a minus for it though, because it's using the same thing again. They thought that was their cheat code. Just say, do the thing, do, like, what the fuck? Wait, we're jumping in the bathtub now? I thought we already did it. This one always has more variety of lyrics. The greatest shower scene in movie history since Janet Leigh in Psycho, or since the fucking guy who sits in the tub all movie in The Truman Show. He's just always in the tub. Truman goes through a whole existential crisis, and this dude's just chilling. Doesn't go to work, doesn't get up to take a shit. He's probably just doing it right in the tub, like he doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do anything, doesn't work, doesn't fucking do anything. You'll find out he's some millionaire who, is just living his best life. But no, there was some aggressive soaping of the face that could be very questionable as to how, could be some aggressive washing of the face with respect to, getting it in your eyes and stuff. That's maybe not the best thing to show to a kid, because they might try to enact it very directly. And if they do that, it could be actually dangerous. Some little kid, like psychological ideation stuff, where you say like, okay, a little kid is going to try to brush their teeth for like 20 minutes so they don't have to brush for 10 days or whatever, 5 days, right? If you're supposed to brush for 2 minutes, what if I brush for 20 minutes? That should do more of the effect. But the reality is that it's like you don't necessarily have to do that from the perspective that You don't necessarily have to do that from the perspective that it doesn't work because it's meant to be reactive in a zero-sum sense of what you just ate that day. So brushing for 20 minutes won't necessarily have that positive of an effect, but that's how little kids might think about it. Or even like with, if I wash my hair like with hand soap or something, I don't know. Or yeah, if I shower extra long, that I won't have to shower for a certain period of time. All these little things you can get into. So either this is wheels on the bus. Okay, I'm going to make an executive decision and skip some of these because it's going to be the same shit over and over with the same ass fucking whatever. Let's see what this is. Wiz Khalifa, See You Again, featuring Charlie Puth. We're starting in 3, 2, 1. And it's like some sort of Furious 7, Fast and Furious. Let's have John Cena come and fucking apologize for insulting China and mentioning Taiwan or something. Okay, this one I have heard, obviously. See, I didn't know it by name necessarily. This is a good song. This deserves to be up here. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. The voice of an angel, that combined with the Furious 7 aspect in the video, music video, but showing some explosions and stuff. I love how that series goes, though. I haven't even seen a lot of the newer ones, but it's like, oh, didn't you know the main character has a brother that we've never heard about for 6 movies, and he's even more dangerous than he is, and blah, blah, blah. We've never heard about him, or now he has an uncle that's secretly a supervillain. Like, you just keep... Family is everything. Also, I didn't mention my brother, my evil twin brother, which I don't think he's his twin. I'm just saying, like, it's so convenient and contrived. Sequelitis up the ass. Yeah, thanks for repeating the line, see you again. I never would have gotten it if you didn't do that, buddy. So this is a good song, so I can't complain. It's good. I mean, again, should it be one of the most viewed videos in the history of YouTube? Probably not, but I'll give it like a B. I can always sort of understand. It has a sort of unique, iconic sound to it, and I have heard it many times. That doesn't necessarily make it good, just a familiarity fallacy. Oh, I've heard it before, therefore it must be good. That's like the fallacy of advertising. Oh, you've heard about it, therefore you vouch for it. So this is fine. Yeah, this is maybe a fun idea, but I want to see videos that are highly viewed, but not this highly viewed, because then it's going to be the same stuff over and over, whether it be music or little kid stuff or just... A lot of things you think of won't actually be on here because they'll be very viewed, but not that viewed. Like Skibbity Toilet has 190 million views. That's a lot, but it won't appear for like it's not going to be a top 1,000 viewed video. There'll be a lot of stuff that has 1 billion views or more than that. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I feel like that's a lot, but it's still not that much compared to a lot of things. There'll be just something really weird and random. Like I want to see more meme videos like this. Not just song videos. Let me be a little selective and go through. But at least we have some idea with what we're doing as far as the playlist, because I could just react to some of my old commentary stuff or just my own commentary stuff where I don't even have to tell you what it is, but I can just kind of use it to use it as a jumping off point with respect to you cannot dissuade with reason what came about by desire, religion. Like, I always would have these little logical razors to use. Like, the reason why people believe in God isn't based on logic and reason. It's based on psychological needs and desires that they have. So, if the process by which they believe it is desire, and, again, psychological peace of mind closure, then you can't convince them not to believe it based on logic and reason, because that's not why they believe it in the first place. So, therefore... they have this need to be fulfilled. So unless you fulfill that need some other way, you could only convince them by giving them a religion or another belief system that would be even more fulfilling, not by simply saying, oh, it's not true or something, right? Because that's not why they were drawn to it to begin with. So, those are some good logical razors to be aware of it is not to be above it. And to also, you cannot dissuade with reason what came about by desire. Okay, so let's keep looking through these, but I might filter out through. I want to see meme videos or commentary videos. I want to see something different than just, or moments, oh, Donald Trump does this, or some world leader gets assassinated, or whatever, just something like that. But no, people would rather watch Baby Shark or some dumb shit. So let's see here. What we have is a simple ability to, let's just kind of name drop some of these, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to be too pertinent. This place I go to doesn't have any forks or spoons, so now I have to eat my food with a little fucking ice cream spoon, basically. Okay, so Ed Sheeran, Shape of You. Let's hear a little bit of this. Just, I won't even bother giving the timestamp. Let's just hear what it is. I probably heard most of these, you would think, on the radio or some shit. Or just to say how many views it actually even had. You can't see it on full screen like that. Yeah, I love those couple stories that people tell, oh yeah, we met under the moonlight in a special, sacred, romantic thing. You probably just got drunk at a bar, had sex, and got pregnant, and that's how I met your mother. That's how they happen. I don't think I actually have heard of this. I actually don't know this song. Or he was always considered such a pretty boy that all the girls love, kind of thing. Ed Sheeran. Well, where does he say the shape of you, though? I'm in love with the shape of you, not just your body. That's kind of an insult, isn't it, low-key? I'm in love with your body. What about your mind and your personality and all these other things? Okay, I don't care about that one, but it's okay, I guess. The Young Jedi. Talk about, fucking exploiting the Star Wars universe more. Do they get killed in Order 66? Because that would be really dark. I mean, it's not like it didn't happen already. Star Wars is for kids. The kids. And just show an image of the fucking Anakin killing them. Imagine he loses that fight. There's a video game where you get to redo that fight, and, you can actually die. So, that's the most shameful moment in history. Mark Ronson, Uptown Funk. So this last one was, some ABC thing. Phonics song. Some of these have, an underlying incentive, because the parents will just put it on for the kids whether they like it or not. Okay, here we go. At least this is meme-worthy. Gangnam Style. Right. So, I gotta see, how much views does some of these actually have? Of course, it won't show me in the proper orientation. 5.2 billion is where we're kind of at. So we started at 14 billion, 8.5, 6.9, 69. I can't even see with that one. 6.4, 6.3, 6.3, 5.9. Looks like 5.3. This was, again, iconic because of the dance and stuff. It's not even that the song is bad, but I'm surprised that it took off that much. Let's see what people say. This was 2012, what the fuck. Life goes by fast. Maybe it didn't trend though right away. Well, it probably did. I'm sorry, humanity, I just need to just fed this beast one more time. Shake my hand. you see all this stuff with Mr. Beast, like, you know, I always have this standard. I don't even know what he did or what the controversy is, but it's like, don't give any man a monopoly over sin or virtue, and always be aware of tendencies that you don't see. Don't just be some initial-minded reactionary clown. So all along, throughout all his success, you could have been a little skeptical and cynical and be like, oh, he's a flawed, idiosyncratic human being just like everybody else. So he's not perfect just because you don't see anything negative, right? So I would have kept an open mind. I never think anybody's perfect or anybody's the worst. And then, so when you find out some of this stuff, you won't be shocked, like, oh, he was perfect, and now we found out this stuff, so that completely tarnishes his whole existence. Like, you would have assumed there's got to be some flaws with him anyway, so you would have never, you know, it's like Charles Barkley, I'm not your role model just because I play basketball. Mr. Beast isn't your role model. He's not a god just because he makes videos and whatever, right? He's just an entertainer. So you don't have to glorify him into some sort of icon and perfect. You can just appreciate what he does or whatever. And so when you find this out, you'd be like, okay, so what? It's like, you knew he had flaws and imperfections, but everybody sort of jumps on someone, right? Like, there's just a bunch of people waiting to pounce. So he was never perfect, and he's never just a devil either. It's always some gray area in between. But people just go by awareness, like, oh, we didn't hear about it, so he was just an angel, and now we hear about something over and over, so now he's the worst. It's usually somewhere in between, right? And I don't even have to know what it is to find out. It's like, if he committed a crime, then arrest him, but, you know, oh, he's too demanding, he's a tyrant, he's a pain to work for. It's like, maybe that's why he's so successful, though. He's has high standards, he demands a lot. I mean, whatever he did, it worked for him. So if you were going to try to stop him, you should have stopped him as he was doing it. You let him become successful, now you try to tear him down. It's like with Trump, you know, even if he's as bad as people say, how come nobody ever said that before? All these same networks, you can go back and watch clips like decades ago or even 15, just before he ran for president. All these people were being nice to him. Stephen Colbert and The View and CNN, they were all interviewing him in a positive, glowing way, right? Now they're acting like, oh, he's the worst thing ever. You could say, oh, it's just because of certain things he's done or said since then. But it's partly like, as soon as he entered politics, now he becomes a bad guy, and he's done all these horrible things in the past. But you should have brought them up before then. You shouldn't have helped build him up and ignored them and even cover for him, potentially. So that's the problem that you run into with respect to, you know, it's just not entirely authentic. So again, I'm not defending anyone. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like, oh, they were ever perfect. They were always flawed, idiosyncratic people. You probably just didn't see it or pay attention to it, or you never heard about those things, but you should always assume they exist. It's like just this general standard in society. Everybody is just perfect and normal, and whatever that means, like just this sort of baseline thing. And then you find out, oh, look, he has this one weird habit. Like, nobody ever has those. Nobody has idiosyncrasies. Everybody's just like a blank slate, perfect mediocrity, whatever you want to call it. Half-mass, reactionary, lowest common denominator, then you find out one thing about them and they're defined by it, even though it's like everybody has idiosyncrasies, everybody has probably some weird tendency, habit, but only when you hear about it do you realize it exists. Wouldn't you have some sort of awareness that, like, okay, everybody has some habit, you probably just don't know about it, they probably just hide it, they probably just, you know, don't make a spectacle out of it. It was a little bit too convenient. In fact, let's react to that. Like, what did he actually do? It's not like it should matter either, because it's like, you know, he's made his money so he can just kind of chill and retire. So I don't really get what the drama is. And he's maybe not even acknowledging it. 7 days stranded inside of a cave, and he's still getting millions of views. But what did he actually do is the question. Chris Tyson losing followers. I don't even know who that is. 32 hours suffering. Mr. Beast should be ashamed. Again, I just like that standard. Like, somebody was literally perfect, and then all of a sudden, everybody started saying bad things about them. That's not how it works. That just shows you weren't paying attention. You might say, oh, they were being protected, or blah, 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 but you should be a little more self-aware as it's happening with respect to I can't even find a direct answer for what he did. Mr. Beast drama. So what is Sports Illustrated? Why is that even on? What does that have to do with that? Subscribers. How many subscribers has he lost? Concerned by regular crew members' absence from recent video. But no, it's like this, like even Bill Cosby or something like that. Again, I'm not saying whether they did or didn't do something wrong, but don't try to tell me, oh, they're just famous or successful so you can't catch them or say it as it happens. Everybody just jumps on the bandwagon at once. Chandler's role with Mr. Beast clarified, absence, rumors. Mr. Beast faked his challenges. That's a lot of work to go through if he did. Faked the challenges as a contestant being improperly treated. Being in the same Discord server that Chris was in, that something happened to minors. Promoted gambling to minors. Like, all this stuff comes out all at once. What a coincidence. It couldn't be that you should have addressed some of this in the past. And maybe people did, to be fair. It's just like, I don't know. It feels like sometimes too perfectly selective, right? Donald Trump is a great example. Like, everybody loved him in the media. All these talking heads who are saying bad things about him now, right, had nothing but positive things to say, or at least treated him in a much more glowing manner. And then all of a sudden, now they hate him. So I'm not questioning whether you should or shouldn't hate him, whether there is a reason to or not, whether he's bad or good or not. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that basically your rationale should be not so inconsistent or convenient as far as timing. Allegedly comparable to Coke drink, they were supposedly promote a healthy alternative to Hershey. Allegedly are much less healthy. It's just like you always take these people at face value and for granted, and then you're surprised later when they're not so perfect. Like, you know, I'm not saying be so cynical, but just be aware of human nature. Like, everybody's flawed, so. Ingredients were changed, people didn't like the taste. Started off advertising chocolate as slave-free and child labor-free, but switched to the same Peru chocolate suppliers. Big chocolate used when they rebranded, dropping off the free marketing taglines at the time. So does that make him bad, or does that make everybody else bad? That you just take it for granted. So he was in the Discord when Chris was in. Something happened to minors. That's very vague. And promoted gambling to minors, like everybody fucking does that. Alex Botez over here. His contestants being improperly treated. Faked his challenges. Maybe he faked some of them, but that's kind of hard to believe too. Like, how could nobody have known this till now? Faked his challenges. Contestants being improperly treated. Which again, if they didn't like it, then why did it's like the Shelley Duvall thing? If you were being so improperly treated, then just quit. You don't even have to do it. You obviously had some incentive of your own. You know, if you hear these rumors about Bill Cosby, then don't hang out with him alone. Right, but oh no, you want the benefits and perks that might come with being associated with such a rich, powerful person. Right, and so therefore, you know, you don't just end up like, oh, I happened to be hanging out with Bill Cosby, and then, oh no, the unthinkable happened. It's like, why are you hanging out with such a big celebrity and expecting, like, you know, that there's not some incentive involved there where, you know what I mean? Why do you think Bill Cosby would be, why would you want to hang out with somebody like that in the first place? Because you think, oh, they're rich and famous, and I want to kind of glom onto that. Not to be a victim blamer, but it's like, you kind of have to know what you're getting into a little bit with that. So, that's a lot of the speculation and stuff. I don't know what to make of that. All I'm saying is people are too eager to do that. Like, they're just waiting for somebody to fall, or they want to just tear somebody down. It's not just like, okay, some little controversy happens and then you move on. It's like, oh no, we're going to completely destroy this guy's whole career. Yeah, that's one scene I always criticize is the Mace Windu thing. I just suddenly thought of it with, I would have made it more game theory, like Palpatine struggles with the other three Jedi a little more, so he uses a lot of his power to knock Mace Windu back, to imply that if it was a 1v1, he could have easily killed him. So he uses his Force Shout on Mace primarily, knocks him back, and he's incapacitated for a while, and that takes up a bulk of Palpatine's energy, so he seems visibly weakened after that, even though there's no sign of that really in the fight. He's just kind of grunting and growling, so he's kind of weakened and tired now. He fights the other three with great difficulty, and then he wins, and then Mace gets up, and so it's to imply that he would have obviously beaten him one-on-one, but now a lot of his power is exhausted from both doing the shout to knock Mace down, and then from killing the other three, so now Mace has an advantage and wins because of that. The way they show it is he kills the other three way too easily. They'll still say, oh, it was a forced scream, blah, 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 but it's not exactly the greatest way to show it. I would have shown it much slower. He knocks Mace back with a great amount of his power. Mace is out of the fight for a little bit. Then he struggles to beat the other three. He's very tired. He's winded. He's winded as he fights Windu, and then Windu beats him only because of that. Well, that's always a game theory way to qualify that otherwise he wouldn't have been able to do it. Which stands to reason that Anakin wouldn't have stood a chance if he said, I'm more powerful than the Chancellor. Did you not just see the Chancellor kill fucking Mace Windu, even though you helped him? Marco Rubio, Alex Jones. Or yeah, I like watching these things, like the 2016 media meltdowns over Trump. Like, how can you not see the bias in that? That they're so mad about it and stuff. It's like, where do we go from here? It's like the American people voted for somebody and they won. So, like, why is that? I'm not saying you got to be happy about it, but come on. Well, let me see what some of these other ones are with respect to the simple fact of some of the most viewed videos of all time. But yeah, this Mr. Beast, maybe he has one of them. It's too selective. Again, I'm not vouching for him. I've never even seen too many of his videos and stuff, but like, he's successful as an entertainer, then something comes out about him. You know, him being successful as an entertainer is not vouching for his personality. Maybe he's a dick, maybe he's a jerk, but he makes good entertaining content that people like, right? Just same thing, like Charles Barkley. He might be a dick, but he's good at playing basketball, so let him play, and if you enjoy it, watch him. Otherwise, don't. Like, it doesn't mean that they're a role model, that you have to vouch for them, that they're perfect. The worst example of that is Sergei Karjakin with chess. It's like, he says something positive about the Ukraine invasion of Russia, but like, he's a great chess player, just let him play chess. If he tries to say something like that at the venue in which he's playing chess, then that's different. But he just says it on like social media or something online, and then chess bans him. It's like, what does that have to do with it? The guy's good at moving wooden pieces on the board and playing a board game. That has nothing to do with anything. This notion that you have to agree with everything everybody says. Like, what if some other player, Magnus Carlsen, maybe he has some controversial view, maybe he's, you know, who cares, though? Like, it's one thing because you have to, you know, you say you don't have to voice it, but whether you voice it or not, it's the simple fact of, it shouldn't be like you have to vouch for everything everybody thinks. It's kind of the thing with Elon Musk, like, oh, we don't agree with what Elon says, so we're not going to buy a Tesla. But imagine how stupid and brain dead you'd have to be there. This is like part of the rule by omission standard. So, in other words, just be out of sight, out of mind, and don't state your opinion, and don't let anybody know what you think. And then they'll buy your products mindlessly, etc. It's like you're punishing somebody for just expressing their views. It's like everybody has views. Just because they don't express them doesn't mean they don't have them. And so, what do you know the views of all the people who own Walmart over the family and the executives? Do you know the views of Bill Gates on everything? Do you know the views of everybody else who you buy products from? Of course not. They'll just stay out of sight, out of mind. You won't even know who they are. So it's like you're punishing somebody for just for just doing something like that. So again, the rule by omission, just they won't even know who you are, they won't even see you, so they won't have anything negative to say because they operate on an initial basis, and they'll assume the best of you, kind of like the Mr. Beast thing we were just talking about. We'll just assume you're completely perfect until something comes out, and then we'll completely tear you down and act like you're the worst person ever, even though you realize everybody's flawed and has idiosyncrasies somewhere in the middle, that you should have never thought they were so good in the first place, and you shouldn't assume they're so bad now. It's just somewhere in between. But he seems to be still doing fine. He has like 6 million views on his last video or something. But that's why I never get in the business of, like, you shouldn't glorify these people too much. They're all flawed. Kind of like how you should look at politicians. Like, don't get dug in too much. Like, oh, Biden's such an angel, or Harris is so good, or Trump is such a bad guy. It's like, they're all flawed. Some of them, they're all useful idiots. Some of them can be more or less useful than others, and that's how you should look at it. Not like, oh, these people should be moral arbiters and turning their nose at you and like, oh, they're going to be so perfect and blah, blah, blah. With respect to they're going to be so perfect and it's going to be kind of, just popularity contests and all this kind of stuff. It's like they're all flawed. Just see who's most useful to you on a policy basis or something like that. There are often times when you think somebody's perfect, it's just because you don't know enough about them, or it's like kind of carefully framed to make them seem perfect. That's how it works in China. That's how it works in North Korea and stuff. You only show the positive stuff. So you only have a positive view, but you should have some self-awareness and cynicality of human nature that you know everybody's flawed, nobody's perfect. So you would never glorify somebody fully or never condemn them fully because you know there's some middle gradation and it's more about the circumstance. It's a failure of society to allow somebody to have too much power. So that's the real problem. Because if you make it about, oh, well, the reason why terrible things happen is because they're just bad people, then you're leaving yourself at the mercy. Okay, all it would take is somebody bad to come along, and it'll happen again, instead of we have to make sure we don't give them too much power so they're limited in what they can do, despite how bad they are. That's kind of the larger process that you would have there. So let's see what we have here. What you have is the ability to like project stuff with respect to new race war Twitter psyop just dropped. But yeah, there was this good chart that shows like how much did the mainstream media talk about race, and it, like in the last 10 years it's increased by such a wide amount. You could say, oh, that's because it's starting to become an issue, but you know what I mean? Like, why would it suddenly become an issue when that's very strange? Or why would they selectively decide to start talking about it? It obviously just shows you they're just using it as a modern McCarthyism of race. That anybody who doesn't agree with certain positions is all of a sudden just racist to try to discredit them. I watch one Vosh video and now the fucking guy clown is in my suggestion all the time. I like how I only have one subscriber on the channel, too. Like, I don't even care, but the way I'm doing it is so weird and disorganized, but there is some good stuff in here. No, yeah, the McCarthyism of race, that whole fallacy. Like, I love that with the border. Like, oh, if you say border security, then you're racist. But if you don't even know who's coming in, like we don't know in the U.S., you're just letting millions of people in with no process, no legal port of entry. That's all you're asking for. You don't even know what race the person is coming in. It could be a criminal from the U.S. in the first place, and from all around the world, anyone. They could have left the country and ran to get away with their crime, and now they sneak back in, right, because they know the border is not secure. It has nothing to do with the race. You don't even know what race the person is. Right, so it has nothing to do with that. Every civilized country in the world has basic border security. Just let them come in through a port of entry. right? We act like we owe it to somebody, like you're giving them the privilege of coming in, seeking asylum, coming here, that's no problem, but you have to come in the same way you came in on Ellis Island, like you would have to check in, that's all, just to make sure you're not carrying like weapons or drugs or whatever. It's really amazing. Like, it's one of the most indefensible things that's happened, but people somehow don't even care. Like, it's not a real thing that ever happens. Just say we're not going to enforce border security and just let anybody in with no process and not even let them in. You're not even aware that whether they're coming in or not. Just completely take a laissez-faire approach and just call anybody who disagrees racist. Like, it's a really... And now we'll give them all licenses and give them the ability to vote. So they'll vote for the people who let them in. So we'll never lose an election again. You could say it's a conspiracy theory if it wasn't so dumb shit obvious. And even if it's not for that reason, then, again, my little expression, whether through error or ulterior motive, a negative practice is still bad. So, for example, let's say that they did it for the ulterior motive of, they want to let people in so that they give them the right to vote and then they can vote for them. So all the illegal aliens will be free voters for the Democrats so they stay in power, right? That would be a good incentive. You say, that's just a conspiracy. That's crazy. Okay, fine. So what's the alternative then? It's still a bad thing that they're letting millions of people in with no proper legal process. So whether it's through the ulterior motive it's bad, or even if it's just their own incompetence and error, right, that they've allowed it to happen, it's bad either way. So it doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on the minutia of, like, the conspiracy theory and this and that. Just say it's bad and it shouldn't have happened and they deserve to, not be rewarded for it, so they shouldn't be reelected based on that. So now, because Republicans didn't put up enough of a fight in 2020 with all the questions of whether it's stolen or not, the same thing could very well happen to whatever extent it did happen, right? And the media coverage being so biased is like, if it's close, which it probably will be, there'll be some way of having it be totally rigged again. But again, I more so looked at it in just the sense that it was rigged through the media the whole time. All the coverage, all those years, was so biased. And the whole irony is that people will complain sometimes, now when CNN criticizes Biden or Harris, now they'll say, look, CNN is fake news. People on that side, like, imagine all these years of them being biased the other way. You never complain, but now when they're not fluffing everything up, you do. But yeah, like, getting too dug in is kind of pointless. Just somebody could be useful, somebody might not be useful. Just go based on policy. It doesn't have to be anything else. Is when you get dug in, it gives you the impression that no matter what they do, you'll just always support them just because that's what you do. Right, you have like Democrat or Republican in your little fucking Twitter bio, right? Then that already tells you right there. So even just to bring balance, like 3 of the last 4 presidencies have been Democrats, so that alone would make you think, okay, maybe we shouldn't keep bolstering the Democratic Party up so much. Maybe we should blame them for a lot of the problems in our society because you've had so many chances to fix them. And then you have the ability to basically look at it from a perspective that you're moving towards a one-party state. They're not being held in check by the media enough. So you could vote for Republicans or Trump for that basis that they will be held in check like they were the first time. So even if he intended to do the worst things ever, he wasn't able to do them because he was held in check by the media, by the other party, by whatever, checks and balances. So evidently it wasn't that bad. So at least you'd rather have somebody held under a microscope than somebody who's going to be defended and coddled. So for that balancing reason, sort of splitting the incentives of power structures, that would be a reason to vote for him right there. Or, again, vote for an independent would be the more logical position to take. It shows you sort of the bias right there. They'll say, Trump this, Trump that. But that has nothing to do with Democrats. And don't vote for a Democrat. If you don't like Trump, don't vote for him. Or vote for an independent. That would be the same thing as kind of quote-unquote voting against him. Or vote for somebody you actually have a certain amount of passion in the party. Maybe Bernie Sanders or somebody would have been, better the last time. Not even that I like him, but at least he's open about what he intends, and he's an independent thinker and has his own ideas, whereas a lot of these people obviously don't. Yeah, I was watching some of that Alex Jones trial. Was pretty interesting. Vietnam then, Gaza now. 68 DNC. But yeah, they haven't exactly been in the best anti-war protests at Chicago DNC. But no, just seeing the amount of bias is unbelievable. Nobody expected it to be this bad. What is this? Like a Harris rally or something? They were using AI to increase the crowd size. Or it didn't necessarily have to be AI. It could have just been Photoshop. Or yeah, that Jack Ma discussion is pretty funny with Elon, where it's like, he just sounds like a complete moron. Like, part of it could be, okay, maybe English isn't his first language, so he's struggling with it there, but he's also just saying random stuff. I mean, English isn't Elon's first language either. It's like the same thing with him. I wouldn't glorify him and say, oh, he's perfect and he's trying to protect free speech, but I would say, again, can he be useful in a certain way? He can do certain things. So it doesn't mean you have to glorify him and he's a hero, but it doesn't mean that you have to act like, oh, he's the worst person ever or something. Nobody expected it to be this bad by Cartier family. Let's just see what this is. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Bus tour. The legacy of Joe Biden. Bro's rolling his eyes at that line. Or there's that funny clip of Caitlin Collins, like on Colbert, where he says, CNN is objective, and the audience laughs. Tears of joy that he dropped out. He saved our democracy. He saved democracy by being carried by the corporate-owned media. Barricading businesses. I don't get it. There's snowplows blocking businesses. Chicago, the heart of, gun crime, even though guns are banned. I love this buzzword of democracy. Like, I love democracy. What are you, Palpatine? It's like, it's just a buzzword. Everything. So when Trump wins, that's democracy too. Like, why? If you don't do what they want, it's a threat to democracy. Like, security gets tighter. Free abortions at the DNC. Or yeah, I love that, where like some mother says, I want to live in a world where my daughter has free right to commit an abortion. Like, but if you did that, then you wouldn't have a daughter. But in fairness, that's not really the point. You should still have the option to do it, etc. But also, like, somebody was being hysterical, like, in 2016, oh, we better have our abortions out or we won't be able to or something. It's like, nobody's ever, like, going to fully ban it the way that people have hysteria about. So I don't know what that even is, but we keep getting suggested sort of random stuff. There's only one dream team, the rest are duplicates. The whole thing with this is, like, Noah Lyles was obviously right. Whether the U.S. lost the last time or they won now this time, like in FIBA, whatever, it doesn't matter whether you win or not. It's just a simple argument of semantics. Like, it's even called the NBA. So NBA championship is a national championship. How do I know? Because it has national in the name, National Basketball Association. But that's not a knock against it and not saying it's not the most competitive, prestigious league in the world. That's a separate category because it's still a national thing. Even though, yes, it has players from all around the world, it's still not fair to say that because it's not the U.S. playing other teams to win the world championship. It's a U.S. team playing another U.S. team, and so that's not fair to say, just on a semantics level. If you want to say winning an NBA championship is more impressive than an Olympic, that's fine. If you want to say anything else like that, it's better, it's the most competitive league. None of that is at odds with just the simple semantics that it is objectively incorrect to call a national championship in the National League a world championship. That's just not accurate. Even if you say, oh, it's the best and the most competitive, it's still just an accuracy issue, right? We can acknowledge, okay, it's hard, it's arguably more impressive, whatever, but you know what I mean? It doesn't prove anything. Like, oh, now we're champions of the world. But it just means you're playing teams from around the world instead of playing teams from around the same country. Even if you want to say, okay, they have players from all around the world, but yeah, their performance wasn't even that impressive, though. They almost lose to South Sudan. They almost lose to Serbia. So it's a case where, you know, a win is a win, but they get a little too confident. Kevin Durant said something like, oh, he's talking shit to Dennis Schroeder, like, oh, we have IQ and entertainment all in one, and, you know, whatever. Dennis Schroeder saying, oh, we have to be so smart and try to compete. But it's like, you can't talk too much trash as the USA because any one of these teams has, like, one star that you have, and they have a chance to win, and, like, oh, they're so good, and the international league's so competitive, international play, but it's a case where, you know, they have one star, like, oh, they have Jokic and then Bogdanovic, so that's like a one superstar, one star, and oh my goodness, they're so good and so competitive, and they can have a chance to beat Team USA. Meanwhile, Team USA has Embiid and Curry and Durant and LeBron and, like, Tatum and Booker. Like, they have so many players off that superstar caliber in one. If you just had one of those and another supporting piece, all of a sudden, oh, look how tough the international competition is. Meanwhile, you're spoiled by having, you know, 5 or 6 of those franchise, you know, superstar players in one. So it is a very entitled sort of group that you would feel, you know, that it should be that close, and you're so cocky that you're almost losing to some of these teams. The coaching wasn't the greatest. Okay, let's continue this, which is at least a good format. This is what I mean when I say, oh, I want to do a YouTube session. You pick something and decide to watch it, whatever it is, like some sort of playlist or other. There's a lot of good stuff on YouTube, but I can never decide. Like, I was watching the Alex Jones trial. That can be fun because we sort of look for, you know, what is the other one? Oh yeah, that one triggered the shit out of me. I might have done a reaction series on that before. What is it? Where she texts the guy and tells him to kill himself, and he kills himself. And I was so angry. Like, that's such a moronic standard in law. Like, somehow blaming her that she caused him to kill himself. I completely disagree with that. It's not really consistent with law in a good way. It's not a standard that you should have. You say jokingly or even in a mean way, you're encouraging somebody to kill themselves and even telling them sort of how to do it. I think the sentence for that should be very light because, yes, it's not a good thing to do, but if you just say that, it doesn't mean that you're not making them do it. I can't remember her name, but... So what you have here is, again, the 1,000 playlist, 1,000 most viewed video playlist. Let me see here. It's very hard to navigate this sometimes. There's a lot of this hype with Kobe that I see in these polls and posts like Kobe's a top 3 player. I hate that because it shows you it's just the media hype. Michael, Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James, top 3 players ever, says every moron clown just based on the media hype of all these players. You know, you're disrespecting Kareem, Hakeem, so many players, Wilt, just because of this modern media hype. You want to circumvent and bypass everybody else. And so you have this, like, you know, ball-dominant perimeter players who have, like, this very entertaining style of play, but none of that has to do with who's the best players ever, right? Kareem is objectively better than Kobe in every way, right? All these other players are objectively better, or at least in that same, you know, like Hakeem Olajuwon. That's not a knock against Kobe to say Hakeem is better, but he basically just is. The only way that Kobe's better is longevity, but... You know, they're both great two-way players. They're both all-time great, both 2-time Finals MVPs. Kobe obviously won with Shaq 3 times, but I don't know how much. That doesn't mean he's better than Hakeem. Like, at least that's more of a conversation that you could maybe say he's better, but there's no way that he's better than, you know, Michael, Wilt, LeBron, Kareem. Even LeBron, I'm willing to leave a little temper my enthusiasm. Or if it was before he passed Kareem's record, I might think twice. But again, it's just all the hype. And I hate this on all-time top 5 lists, too. They'll have, like, Magic or Steph or somebody like that at point guard. But then they'll have Michael at the 2 and then Kobe at the 3. That's fucking stupid. Like, nobody designs a team like that. It's like one of these fluffed up teams like the Nets. Oh, yeah, let's have Harden and Durant and Kyrie. And, like, let's just have 3 of the players who do kind of the same thing. Ball dominant scorers. Like, that's not how team construction works. If you want to have Kobe come off the bench, fine. Or if you want to say Kobe's better than Michael, which he's not. Like, it's not disrespect to Kobe. He's a great player, but he's just not. That's just not good team composition. You would never want a player like Kobe and Jordan on the same in the same lineup because they're too similar, and so you're kind of redundant. It makes no sense. Let's have 2 similar ball dominant players next to each other. It just doesn't work, right? Why would, again, you might say, oh, well, how, you know, that's still all-time great talent, but that's not the argument, because by that logic, obviously, you can just put any 5 names together and say, oh, that's all-time great talent. But when you have other options, right, you would rather have people who complement each other. You know, so if you were to go like Magic, or a lot of people would say Oscar, actually, he gets passed up. So let's say Oscar at the point guard, Michael at the 2, LeBron at the 3. Now it becomes between 2 centers, and some of these centers are more versatile than you really realize, but it would be like Kareem at the 4 and Wilt at the 5, and you might say, well, that's kind of clogging up the middle, but what Wilt can do is he can be a defender and a rebounder, more so than even a scorer, so you could maybe switch those too, but Wilt at the 4, Kareem at the 5, but you are getting the 5 best players of all time, in my opinion, and a lot of people should probably agree with that. But no, if you want to switch Oscar for Magic, that's fine. Michael's pretty much set. Kobe just has no place on that list. That's not any knock against him, but there's no way you can say he's better than any of these guys, because he's a better defender than Magic, but still, even if we don't go by position. But again, LeBron at the 3, even somebody who maybe is seen as a better shooter like a Rick Barry or a Larry Bird, but LeBron's actually not as bad of a shooter in the totality of his career now when we look at it, but early on in his career you might have said that. Like you take Larry Bird over LeBron just because you want somebody who can really shoot and hit outside shots, which neither Magic nor Michael were really good at, 3-point shots, right? So that actually is a bit of a weakness of the team. Sometimes a good way to test these is like in a 2K game, like, oh yeah, this all-time great historic team like the Lakers with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, but nobody can hit a fucking perimeter shot, so it becomes a nightmare actually. But no, it's a case where, there's this sense of bias towards that. It's very weird. With all due respect to Kobe, he has no business even being in that conversation. Like, oh, he's up there with the GOAT. Like, maybe because he passed away, people are being more sympathetic. But even before that, like, he's so hyped up. Nobody's saying he isn't great, but it's a total different argument when you talk about Shaq is better, in my opinion. See, here's my measure. I have 50% goes to peak performance. Like, how do I measure a player all time? And you'll see how consistent this is. 50% of my measure is how good were they at their best? How good was their peak? Then the 25% is longevity. How good were they over the course of a long career? And then the other 25% is all the other stuff, like clutchness, accolades, and what else? Like clutchness, accolades, and the other simple fact of psychology, achievements, how much did you win, what teams were you on, just everything else goes into that, right? So if you look at Kareem would be the GOAT on the longevity point of view until now. I guess LeBron is now. In terms of the accolades and clutchness, everything like that, you could put like a Bill Russell or somebody like that where there obviously is something intangible going on. Sam Jones gets a lot of credit for that. He would hit every clutch shot. Rick Barry was very clutch. Obviously Michael gets that anyway, but he's already in the top conversation anyway. And then the peak performance would be like Wilt. So again, because I value that so highly, number 1 would be Wilt Chamberlain. Number 2 could be Michael Jordan. Number 3 could be Oscar. Number 4 could be LeBron. Number 5 could be Kareem. And I guess that LeBron-Kareem thing just sort of changed now because of that being the longevity process that we have. So you might question, okay, like Wilt is up there because his peak performance is, out of the park with any of these people, right? Averaging 50 points, 25 rebounds. Again, people might try to diminish the era, but nobody else can do that in the era. Other players have had height advantages, etc. And so it just doesn't matter. Yao Ming was 7'5". He had a bigger height advantage on the league by average than Wilt, or other players even in Wilt's era didn't do what he did. There were some unknown 7-foot players who just couldn't play. So it's not, basketball is ultimately still a skill game. You have George Marasan, you have Manute Bol. They had bigger height advantages. They didn't put up the kind of numbers he did. The rules really weren't that different. Nobody else could take advantage of them. Or that's a fallacy you always hear, like with the Celtics too, with respect to, the Celtics only won 11 titles because it's a weak era with 8 teams. Okay, but then why did no other team win then? Like, right, what made them so special? So only they could take advantage of it, but nobody else could. So they deserve to get credit for that. The team building, the scouting, the drafting, the developing of players, the coaching, camaraderie, everything, strategy. They obviously were doing something better than everybody else to be able to win that much, so they deserve credit, because then it's like the bubble. No matter who won in that era, right, with the Celtics, whoever won then, they only won because it's a weak era and it has 8 teams. So that would apply to everybody. So why did they take advantage of it more than everybody else? That's what every era is. Like, you'll say, well, the Warriors only won in this era because of 3-point shooting and the way defense is played. But everybody else is exposed to that same circumstance. So why couldn't they take advantage of it? So don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, there's always certain aspects of an era that you can take advantage of. And so now you end up in a situation where the bubble, like, no matter who won in the bubble, you would say, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse ring. It's so how did it help the Lakers? Maybe it gave them a bit of time to rest with LeBron being a bit older, although we've seen that's not really even pertinent now. He's done very well anyway. But no, it gives an older player like LeBron a bit of time to rest that he wouldn't have had otherwise. It gives an injury-prone Anthony Davis a bit of time to recover. But even that, I don't care, because those things shouldn't really be the defining factor. So other than that, how did it help the Lakers? It even hurt them because they were the number 1 seed, so they lost their home court advantage. And you saw how much that hurt the Bucks, because the Bucks lost to a 5 seed in the Heat, right? Even though Giannis was healthy every game except for like one. And the reason why is because of the simple fact that they didn't have home court advantage. So that's at least part of the way you could explain it, even though the Heat did beat them in some other, as the 8th seed in some other capacity, obviously more recently. But the fact of the matter is the simple fact that it arguably hurt the Lakers because they were a higher seed, obviously the number 1 seed, and they lost their home court advantage because of being in the bubble. And so how did it help them? And so if anything, it hurt them, but at the very least, everybody's in an equalizing situation. So again, I had picked the Clippers to win, and Kawhi was healthy, Paul George was healthy, and they failed. So I have to admit I was wrong, and I knew that going in that they were playing in the bubble, and I didn't think that would matter. So I can't say, oh, all you have to see is like, no matter who won then, they only won because they won in the bubble and the Mickey Mouse ring, right? Why do you apply that selectively? So no matter who you wanted to win or who was going to win, it's all invalid. So no matter who won, it would have been a garbage ring, right? So to me, that doesn't matter. It's like, it's equally as impressive as it would have been for anybody else to win. So, you act like it's an exception. Like, oh, Wilt's playing in that era, or, the Lakers are playing in the bubble, but so is everybody else. So they're not uniquely benefiting from that circumstance. Everybody is exposed to it. And so I'm going to judge it relatively equally, so it's fine. Now, some people maybe fluff that up and say, oh, it's more impressive, like LeBron's tried to say that, more impressive than regular rings. I don't know about that. Although the one thing that is impressive is because I definitely didn't predict for him to win it because he was so much older, and it's at a different stage in his career that I was impressed by it that way. But no, I think it's a way for people to hate on the Lakers, which I don't really care for, all the hype they get, but I have to at least respect, like, I picked the Clippers. I thought Kawhi, would do it. He was healthy. Everything was healthy. So what's the problem? And they just choked away a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. So I have to admit I was wrong, and I can't blame the bubble because I knew they were playing that, and everybody else was playing that in that too. And if they had won, I wouldn't have said, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse ring, because, it's fine. It would have been fine. So when the Lakers won, I have to give them credit, and that's one of really 3 times that LeBron proved me wrong. When I didn't think he'd win in 2013, I didn't think he'd win in 2016, and I didn't think he'd win in 2020, obviously. So who have been the last 4 champions? We had 21 was obviously the Bucks, 22 was obviously the Warriors, 23 was obviously the Nuggets, and 24 was obviously the Celtics. So we've had a lot of good variety that way. But again, a lot of it has to do with injuries and things like that. But so let me watch. I don't know why I just suddenly felt like talking about that. But no, my peak performance is 50%. So you can see like Wilt is number 1 because that. He had decent longevity and he had decent accomplishments. But, certainly the record books would point to that. But his peak performance is God level, so I don't care about anything else. You can score 100 points in a game. You can have average 50 for a season, like you're just goated. Nobody else can touch that. The number 2 is Michael, where his peak performance is still really good, right? He wins 6 Finals MVPs. He's got the accolades. His peak performance is up there. His longevity isn't the greatest because he retired twice in the prime of his career. So that's his strong suit is, again, Wilt's strong suit is the peak performance. How good were you at your best? Michael's weakness is his longevity because he retired twice in the prime of his career. And LeBron, number 3 is Oscar. I guess his weakness would be more so his accolades. He only won 1 title. his teams weren't the greatest. But number four would be Kareem, where you have, he's the king of longevity, so that's a strong point. His accolades are also very impressive, and his peak performance is also impressive. So you can make a case that he should be even higher, and I have no problem with that. And then LeBron is also longevity. He's stood up. Accolades are very good. Peak performance is very good. So he's kind of, jack of all trades. He's very impressive in all categories, but it just doesn't distinguish itself like these other players did win more titles, like Michael and Kareem both won 6 to LeBron's 4, or you have peak performance. You do have that Michael and Wilt were better, and even longevity is the one thing that he stands alone, but Kareem is always close now. I mean, I can't really diminish it, right? The only thing you'll say is he came out of high school, and of course Kareem had a very good high school and college career. So the point, high school doesn't matter. They both went to high school, but Kareem went to college and was very successful there. So that's not fair, because that would be like saying, well, I'm going to hold it against LeBron that he didn't have a very good college career, the same way that I'm going to give LeBron credit for being an all-time leading scorer over Kareem. So it's not like Kareem was just doing nothing then. He was still playing at a high level. It's just, he happened to not be playing in the NBA. So I think that's almost unfair. Kareem did things that LeBron didn't do, right? Like in college, and LeBron did things that Kareem didn't do because he came in early. And a big part of that really just has to do with injuries. Like, you might say, oh, it proves you're the best player, but it's not necessarily even about that. Like, Karl Malone was number 2, so that doesn't mean he's the second best player ever, right? It just means longevity, not getting hurt is a big part of it, conditioning. So to me, it doesn't really make that case, but usually it's going to be an all-time great player anyway. So I wanted to see the rest of these, not the rest of all of them, but I want to see something along the lines of these 1,000 most viewed videos, but I want to see something more interesting, like meme-worthy stuff, not just songs. They've all been songs pretty much so far. But no, I was floating these other ideas out there, like Netflix, Gauntlet, watch everything in order, alphabetical order, randomizer, or even you have the simple ability to do, you have a simple ability to basically do the one thing called Audible or audiobooks and things like that, either for Lord of the Rings. I want to watch that Lord of the Rings cartoon thing, the earlier movie from the 1970s. And again, people might mock it or say it's not that good, although I haven't seen it, but the point is that it set the standard for probably a lot of things that you would follow, right? Whether it be characters' appearances or anything else. And Peter Jackson did fuck up a lot of stuff. It's very unfaithful to the books, those 3 movies. Even though people love them and they are really good, they are very bad. Like, if I was to grade it from not from a quality standpoint, but from an authenticity to the book standpoint, I'd probably have to give it a C or maybe even a D. It really does a lot of things completely wrong. The way that Sauron looks and acts, like at the beginning, where he hits everybody with a mace, he never does that in the books. That's not how he fights. Like, he burns somebody with his bare hands and stuff like that. Like, he's meant to be like a necromancer. He's never portrayed as a fucking mace-wielding brute like that. I think that's more consistent with the way that Morgoth is talked about, so they maybe confuse the two. And the way he dies, even, or is beaten at the beginning. He had that most epic fight ever with Elendil and Gil-galad, and then, oh no, he just chops off his finger, Isildur. Right, bro lost a finger, is the way that Peter Jackson interpreted that epic fight. Like, just so many things that are wildly changed for no good reason. It doesn't even make any sense. Totally misrepresenting the material. But no, like, I love that I haven't seen the Harry Potter movies. There would be so much I could analyze and enjoy with that. And I do think I have a bias towards that. Like, I'd rather, as much as I like writing and books and everything, I like the way that I would rather see the movie version first and see all the twists and turns that way, because it's presented in a most enjoyable form. Like, if I had to rank, would I rather play the game first, or watch the movie first, or read the book first? And the answer is, I would rather probably watch the movie first, then play the game, and then read the book, because at least you're getting some visual and audio elements along with the rest. Maybe I would even like playing the game first, too, because you get, like, the maximum interactivity is objectively the best. Some of the newer Harry Potter games were bad, though, like the Deathly Hallows. I saw that, like, on Angry Joe, where he was shitting all over them. It takes 2 hours to beat it, or something, and also it's just bad. You know, somehow the licensing got fucked up. But some of the earlier ones seem pretty good, like Sorcerer's Stone and stuff. So I would like to try to do this, but I can't really navigate my fucking phone here. Show the playlist itself. I think here we go. Okay, let's just listen to Gangnam Style while I decide. And that thumbnail is so stupid. Like, it's like they knew it was going to become a meme, or they added that later. Let's just watch this and then we'll decide. I don't know what it even means. It's like a place. Gangnam is like a location. So let's do it like the people in Gangnam do it. I mean, I can kind of understand the meme potential. The video is very stupid. The dance is kind of silly. And but I mean, they know what they're doing. It's not like, oh, what a surprise. They're making it very meme-worthy. Just random stupid stuff. And the song itself is, you know, kind of catchy, which nobody even knows what it fucking means. And maybe the world is better off that way. Any fucking cool guys don't look at explosions moment. I think it's the dance partly that would get. Yeah, I love this random English and foreign songs. Like, sexy lady is the one word that you understand, the one phrase that you understand. Hey, this is to be kid-friendly. It's zooming in on the woman's butt. Yeah, it's not a bad song. It's just, again, it gets undue credit for various reasons. I mean, I have to give them a certain amount of credit for the music video. It would take a certain amount of effort and whatever to make this, but it's just random. Random equals funny equals good equals viral. I don't know what to say, man. I'm at a loss for words. I mean, see, like, the dance is totally unnecessary. They made the song, but the dance, they just came up with this extra thing. That's part of the... That woman is actually pretty good at dancing, the red hair. I was noticing her more than him, like... It's the same dance, but she was pretty good. Unbelievable, dude. This is what you have to do for 50 billion views. And just to put it in context, like how much money that would make you. Not only from the video itself or ad revenue, just from like all the connections and the, power it would give you. Imagine having a 50 billion view video. Like, that is fucking nuts. All the different, things you can get off the back of that is just nuts. That's why I hate when streamers say like, oh, we don't make that much money. If you have million, like Levy was saying that, or somebody, oh, I'm not a millionaire, like Asmongold, I wish I had recorded that. One of the dumbest fucking Asmongold saying, oh, I'm not a millionaire, even years ago. It was many years ago, but still. You've got like millions of fucking views and subscribers and followers. Like, if you're not a millionaire, then you're doing something wrong. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's shaming you for it, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's just... I think I've seen this before, something with the eggs. It's a little weird to do this in radio form because, you're not playing it for you to hear, nor am I showing the video, but whatever. You can just, if you really care for stupid React content, some of these are weird visually. I think people like it for that reason. Like, there's some very graphic, almost disturbing stuff. Old MacDonald had a farm. What does this have to do with all the colors and shit here? I don't get it. It's Old MacDonald had a farm, but it's a bunch of eggs having different colors sprayed into them. And I don't know why or what that has to do with it. Like, what the fuck is going on? Black. This video should get banned. It's blackface. Brown. I never understood why blackface is a bad thing. Like, so if you dress up with makeup that makes your face look white, like a clown does, or somebody like that, oh, that's offensive to white people? Like, why? It's just, I don't get it. You're playing a character that happens to have darker skin than you do, and so you wear makeup that makes you look darker, so what's wrong with that? Like, there's so many contexts where that would be acceptable or fine. So if I'm playing a lizard person and I'm playing like an alien species that's like a lizard and I wear green makeup, so now I'm green face, so is that offensive to, like, it's just stupid. It's a fictional thing, right? Like, you could say, oh, you're stealing a role from somebody who is naturally black, but there's plenty of instances of doing that, like where, I don't know, in other ways. So like, how is it offensive to just portray something, unless you're saying there's something wrong with that thing, which there's not. Like, there's nothing wrong with being black, so why would there be something wrong with wearing, it's like wearing a mask or a costume. So, you wear a mask of like, I don't know, you wear a mask of basically some person, right? I want to wear a mask so I look like James Bond, but I'm black, so if I'm black, and so now James Bond is white, so now I'm whiteface, so does that mean I'm doing something wrong? The same way that if you play like a black character, right, in a story, and you happen to be a lighter tone, again, I'm not saying you can't have a black person play that, I'm just saying as a potential hypothetical option, let's say I've always written the story and I want to see this guy play it, but he doesn't have the right look for it. Like, my favorite actor is Christian Bale, and I always wanted him to play this character, but he would need to be a little darker skinned to play it, and so I have him do that. I don't know, I guess I just don't get it. Why are people offended so easily by certain things? There's no negative connotation unless you make it one, right, where you just, it's just makeup, it's just effects, it's just performative aspects. The whole irony and stuff like that is you're almost implying that it's bad. Like, why would it be bad to portray that? This is going on for a long fucking time. Holy shit. FanDuel. Maybe I should make a FanDuel series where I make bets on sports games, but I don't really know enough about them. This is some other fucking music video. How about one that's not? Some alien dancing. See, this is Greenface. He's being disrespectful to green people. But no, to portray something that's not bad is bad. Like, if I wear a mask of someone that is a different race than me, that's somehow offensive to that race. I guess, somehow. Just to simply portray it. You're not portraying it in a negative way, you're just portraying it. Right? It's one thing if you make a caricature out of it. Like Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball. Yes, in a universe with aliens and, aliens and Namekians and green people and all these random talking cats and flying cars. Why would that be offensive that there happens to be a character who just looks like that? Even like Jinx, right, in Pokemon. I don't get it. It might be based on some sort of stereotype, but it's a fictional universe with all this fantastical stuff. So I wouldn't really care about it. Like, or there was a good joke I made with like the Barbie movie, right? Like some China or somebody's getting offended by a map that shows like Taiwan or something, and so it's like, if your concern is a movie about a doll and how it portrays and it portrays, if you're getting your information on geopolitics from a movie about a doll or getting bothered by it, then you've got bigger problems, right? It's not that important. Nobody's going to be looking at a movie about a doll. Nobody would have even noticed, really, if you didn't point it out. Like, who's really looking for that? Oh yeah, I watched the Barbie movie to make sure. I guess people really are, though. Like, censors and stuff are making sure that it's okay to... That was a bad movie from the perspective that it does a bad job of suspending disbelief because it's too, like... It doesn't play by any rules, so it's just kind of random. It never made me buy into it in a serious level. It's hard to explain because that song was kind of annoying, actually. It makes you buy into it from the perspective that even if it's fantastical stuff in the universe, like, the Barbie world and the real world and all the magical elements, in order to really get invested, you have to take it seriously or make it believable. So they didn't do that at all. There's just too much Deus Ex Machina or weird stuff. It's hard to explain, but it never made me... Okay, this I know. What is it? Some frog... What is it again? Axel X Frog. I mean, I can always understand the musical elements. We get two in a row that are like to do with aliens. At least I think these are meant to be aliens. I mean, the instrumental here is truly magnificent. What are the actual lyrics, though? Do they actually say something besides all these noises? It might just be that the whole time. I forget. It's actually kind of a troll thing. You'd rather just hear it without the voices. There was always some comprehensible language like Break It or something. Is this like from some movie or what the fuck is this? The visual, like... I guess I'm not even saying the timestamp, but... This part is very meme troll worthy. It's always just random stuff, though, that people like. You come up with this shit when you're drunk or something. Somebody said, like, let's go crazy or something. Ding Ding, the song. I can't even see the full name of it either. It's like Axel F by Frog something. You hear this a lot in memes and stuff, I feel like. Parts of the song. Yeah, little kids would love stuff like this. Or, yeah, like, what is that? The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Like, that's a good meme-worthy song. With all the animation and everything. That's an old-school internet classic. Bam, bam at the end. Still a better action movie than the Skibbity Toilet fucking storyline. Okay, I've had enough of fucking songs. Give me something else. Recipe for Disaster, episode 17. What the fuck am I watching, dude? It's a bear on a tricycle. Like a little kid with a guitar. I should be more accurate with the timestamps here, but this doesn't seem like a song, though, so I got my wish. Or like that one will be up there, the Recipe for Disaster. That one will be up there. The what's it called? The Happy Town, Lazy Town, fucking We Are Number One. Right, if you want to be a villain number one. So the bro is playing checkers by himself. Sit at the checkers board and play with yourself. It's amazing. Magnus Carlsen. I want to see somebody like that play checkers as much as it's made fun of. Okay, this is the first one that's actually like a video, so something really funny must happen. It's like, why would this be so popular? They go from playing checkers to playing hopscotch. A bear and a little girl. Like, why would this have billions, literally billions of views? There's always some other story behind it. Reminds me of almost like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie type shit. This is what Banjo does in her free time. Now they're playing hockey. Like they're trying to mix every game together. It goes from checkers to hopscotch or whatever to hockey. Every game in one. At least I'm impressed that this isn't a hey goalie, hey, get ready for a play. He hits a little rabbit as he's backpedaling away like a clown. Scored again, but you hit the door. 2-0 lead. Keeping her entertained while you play your little checkers. He keeps crashing his attempts to play checkers. I guess he's obsessed with that. I like how this is very wholesome content, so I can't complain, but making a little porridge when the fucking porridge thing, when the pot is bigger than you are, maybe there's an issue here. You could fall in and he'll end up eating you. I'm trying to make it more dark than what it is, though. It's very wholesome. He's just a little upset because he wants to... I mean, it's wholesome enough. Now he goes to try to play his game, and she's going to come and interrupt it again. So easy a bear can play at checkers motto. But now she's going to burn down this whole fucking house. And she's trying to eat it. You'll be as big as the bear by the time you're done eating this shit. Gonna burn down the whole fucking house. Oh shit. The rabbit's just catching strays from everybody. The bear accidentally trips up walking backwards. The girl is fucking gonna kill it by stuffing his mouth with food. I don't know what to make of this. Like, it's not bad in any way, but it's also, he's gonna get interrupted again now. He can't figure it out. This almost makes me want to play checkers myself. As much as people make fun of it, it's pretty complicated still. Like, you know, imagine playing the world checkers champion. You're gonna get your ass beat, even if you're Magnus Carlsen or something. Yeah, I guarantee it. You would still have to study and learn, and it'll take you years, and you might never be as good as they are. Right? It's just different. There's like this one sign that is funny that somebody has on my route as I'm driving. It's like, support this person if you support the Gazan genocide. Like, it's like a good bait, but the text is so small of the Gazan genocide part that you might not even see it. It's like, vote for this person if you support genocide. The house is gonna come crumbling down, dude. And that's how the bear fucking died.